Hi everyone, it's Killshot99 Gaming. This is Playdead Live, the Morgue Battle Preview. This is going to be absolutely incredible. I am so excited. I've done multiple calls today. I've had the competition committee. I've bounced ideas off of people just to get us to a point where I think it is the best PvP we've ever created. The cool thing about the Morgue is going to be there is going to be some expansion throughout the season, but it's not going to be anything that really blows you away. There's going to be a few little enhancement modules that we add to it. I think you guys are going to have a blast. If you guys are excited, you got to give me triple nines in chat right now. Let me see those 999s because here's what tonight's all about. No bundles tonight. We are going to put on the map. We're going to do a walkthrough. You're going to see positioning. You're going to see how clean the map is. You're going to be able to find everything. And then I want you guys to I want scrutinized. I want some questions. I've been asking for rules clarifications, for questions, just to make sure we got a very smooth season. What I think is cool about this season is it really puts the gameplay back on the individuals. You'll still plan. You'll still have your captains making the calls. But there are going to be some things about this season where it is going to be you and you making a decision without going into chat and asking a bunch of people what to do. So it's going to test your strategy, how well you play. There are accolades for everybody. There are things that bombers can do, that rovers can do, that tanks can do, that defenders can do. There's going to be times that you got to support the other group. You're going to have to watch suffocation, elevation, inhalation. All of those things are going to factor in. So without further ado, I want to show you guys first and foremost. We're not going to officially recognize them tonight, but here is that standing and schedule that I posted on the portal, so you can pull this down. And of course, we got Mir over there with 5 big trophies. And question is somebody going to keep him from getting number 6 this season? Because Mir had a revival, and we need everybody to go out of the morgue and say, the morgue is where every faction is going to step up. And the sooner you get out, you understand it, you understand the gameplay. There's going to be some things that you can do, and there's going to be some things that you can do again. I'm going to show you some brand new zones that you've never run into. All right. This is the first time we've ever put a map on the board with all of the icons up there. You guys ready to go? You guys ready to see this? All right. Big super shout out to everybody. I'm going to get right into it. We got a lot of stuff tonight. So I'm going to ask everybody, take some notes, focus, pay close attention, because Saturday night, we've got a faction battle, leaders versus the non-leaders, the players, a lot of players. So there's great players on both sides. So Saturday night, we got a battle, leaders versus non-leaders, not just for bragging rights. This is going to be something we're going to do in a test. So you're going to want to pay attention because we're going to split up into teams and we're going to play about half a game. So you'll see how all these things work out. You guys excited about Saturday night? So Friday night, we've got really, really awesome story, Slayer's Lair, coming at you guys Friday night. Saturday, we got the final morgue test. We got battles between the leaders and the non-leaders. And then Monday night, everybody, we kick off with Sly traveling to Mir. You guys think you're going to master this by Monday night? What do you think? You guys think you'll, with seeing it twice, that you'll be ready to go? Let me know in chat. I'm very curious to see if you guys think that that you'll have a game plan, a strategy, and be ready to go. All right, I'm seeing absolutely. All right, Sly. Oh, Crave like Sly is ready to go tonight. Ark is ready to go. Hell yeah, that's why I'm here. All right, here we go, everybody. And again, big shout out to all of y'all, all of our super fans, all of our players, all of our green team. I saw Valar up there earlier, and Valar, you guys have been members for such a long time. I saw that pop up. Valar said, "Hello, 99 Army, kills, great mods, channel members, PDO players, sponsors, bundles, box coin, kills coin." We had a great box event this week. I mean, it is October, everybody. Here it is. Without further ado, I am going to show you the Morgue battle map fully iconed out. Here it is, everybody. Check out the icons. Look how smooth and crisp everything has a home. It has a purpose. It is right there for all of y'all. You've got your banners. You got your icons in there. You've got everything has a sweet little place. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, you got all of your PCP rewards. Down at the bottom, you got your circuit breaker with your smokes laid out very nicely. You can see where the walls are. Walls on both locations. You can see the straw men. Busy Bee says, welcome to the morgue. Up top, you can see the Coliseum. What is the Coliseum? All right, follow the skull around, everybody, and I'm going to show you a quick tour, okay? All right, if you guys can see the skull, give me a 999, and I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough, and then we'll do some Q&A. I'll show you how all of this works. So if you can locate the skull over here by B-Dub on the left side, I'm going to give you your tutorial of how to quickly find everything. Okay, starting with B-Dub. First and foremost, look at where our bench players are. We now have frames for all the bench players over here. So they're going to fit comfortably right in that zone. So all the icons will be the same size, so you'll be able to see who the subs are. There where all your subs are going to go. Nice and clean, neatly organized, not all over the place, okay? Take you up top. We got our pet cage. Up top is where your blues are going to be, okay? Every time you use a blue, first one's going to go to the trees. Second one's going to go to the forge. Third one is going to go to the tower. All right. And you'll be able to see how many you have remaining up top. That's where your blues are going to be stored. This is where your bomber is going to go, and notice she is inside a well. Bombers are going to take 20% damage in round 3 and round 5, an ability called suffocation. Doesn't continue to happen, but the start of round 3, the bomber that comes in or the bomber that's in the zone takes 20% damage, and at the start of the second half, the bomber has to take suffocation as well. And your question is, do we have to put a bomber there? Yes, you do. You have to have a player in every zone. So being in the well will not be continued suffocation, but you will now take damage. Watch out, bombers. People are going to be coming after you when they see you taking the damage in round 3 and round 5. It's going to start you out at 80%. So suffocation from the well. Of course, you can see right there, there's your walls. Now, we got this cool little thing here. You guys can see the psychos, hopefully. See the psychos right here on the little perch. How do you know how many psychos you have left? Look at that. Whenever you use a psycho, it goes there. And you can see the little street light flashing. So when both psychos are used, you got 2 flashing street lights. So you got your blues there. You got your psychos there. Easy to find. And very, very easy to tell how many the other person has left. All right. The forge has these flames. So when you like straw man, we're just going to move the flame directly to the straw man. They're very easy to find as well. 1, 2, 3. There are your forges. And follow the skull. This is where you'll have extra pets. These will be some of your legendaries. Take you over here. This is the Gauntlet Coliseum. I'll tell you about the Gauntlet in a minute. This is the dungeon. You know about the dungeon. This is the portal. And this is the pet pit. That is the pet pit cave. Pet pit will not be active next Monday. We're probably going to roll that out in about 4 weeks once we've gotten in and we decide a little bit more of the pet mechanics, but you do have the pet pit right there. All right, we've got this tombstone here. Now, what is this tombstone? It is not just design. It is an ability called Raise the Dead, Bury the Dead. I'm going to tell you exactly what that is shortly, but I want you to know there is a tombstone on each side that is Raise the Dead and Bury the Dead. Your DZ is absolutely amazing. You can see the DZ down here. You can see where Ellie is. This is your Scarage. Nolan should be over there. I'll get Nolan put away shortly. So you can see the skull. This is your Scarage. Your Scarage takes the place of the boat. Scarage has a nice ability if you load it up with a H9 and a limited grenade. I'll tell you about that shortly. And this is where I'm storing all of your PCP bonuses. So when you jump into the tank, you will get the cannonball. The cannonball will go up there. There's your gold bar. There are your halos. There's your ruffled feather. There's your tire. Will probably have something to do with the rover. So you got a tire. And then you've got this gold orb, which will have something to do with the temple. All right. So that is half the map. There's your tank. And then we get to right here. You got your bosses in the middle. There's one chest. There's the second chest on Main Street. And there's the third chest. Now, let me just start right now and tell you home field advantage is the same. Follow the skull, okay? I'm going to start the skull where Bonnie is. So you can see all of this area, the cobblestone road, is where the ocean used to be. So everything around this parameter is surrounded in deadly fog or healing fog. So if you are outside that area, that is where the home field advantage goes into play. So for Ark, if somebody is on this road, they will be slowed down. For Mir, their bosses will get the health bonus. For Sly, they'll get the negative. Mir will get the plus and a minus. For Vox, they get the plus. So home field advantage is the same, and it is that cobblestone area on the outside. Okay, now the other side of the map is going to work the same way. You got your DZ, you got your Strawman, 1, 2, 3. You got your Psychos up here. You got your Blues over here. Benny is still up there. Your Kangs are stored in that location. Ellie's still there. You can see Marty hanging around under the signs. Marty's in a great location. And then if you pay close attention down here, you can see the Doomsday is still there. And you can also see the Squid. It's got its own little pond down here in the water that flows into the well. And there is the wall on the bottom side. Okay, that is the entire map. Now I'm going to show you, and you can see orbitals down there too. Now I'm going to tell you a few additional things that happen that did not happen before. The big news is how many people see that the temple is on fire? How many people can see the flames in the temple? This is going to change the game drastically. And I'm gonna tell you guys a couple of times. I've already talked to the competition committee, so together all of us will. They know about it, so their job is going to be to make sure we all understand it. Okay, wasn't a big secret. I just wanted to give it in bite-sized pieces because it's going to change strategy. So here is the way the temple works. It starts out on fire, which means you cannot enter the temple until you put out the flame. You cannot put out the flame with a pet. It is just like the straw man. When you have to light the straw man, you have to have a player fire at the fire with a chill effect, either a grenade or a gel. It can be prevented. And after you put out the fire, so here's the way it's going to work. And I'm going to give you all these scenarios. So you might think it's a little complicated, but I'm going to tell you what you can't do, okay? Player number 1, Patch, cannot cameo to the temple. Can't do it. So your number 1 player, unless they have a legendary gun called Biogen that lets you move after the turn, your first player, at best, can put out one of the flames. Now, if they put out the flame, now your temple chamber is open. The other team cannot run in your temple chamber. The only players that can go in your temple chamber the same turn that it is extinguished are your players. It's important. I said same turn. Okay? Next turn, it is a free-for-all. Now, let's say Patch puts out his fire. Scenario number 1. He's like, I'm not shooting at the wall, not lighting any straw men. I am going to put out this flame. All right, and meanwhile, let me show you guys a little bit of walkthrough. That way we don't get too far ahead of ourselves, okay? Turn number 1, Patch says, I'm going to play boss on Main Street, and I'm going to put out a flame. Now, B-Dub over here might say, no, no, no. I'm going to prevent that shot. Well, guess what? You ain't going in the temple because it was prevented. Just like the straw man, right? So let's say B-Dub says, nah, I'm going to let it go. So Patch uses his shot or his grenade. Now that temple chamber is open. B-Dub says, we got different fish to fry. You guys are firing at the temple. We're going to play boss on the other side, and we're going to light up straw man number 1. So now Mir has a straw man lit up, but there's a temple chamber over. All right. Buzz is player number 2. Buzz says, you know what? I got to get in that temple. So Buzz is going over here. Now you might ask, can Buzz fire at the other team's chamber? The answer to that is no, not in round number 1. In round number 1, you can only fire at your own temple chamber. So you're also the only one that can occupy it. So now we got Buzz inside the temple. Now he's inside the temple. Guess what he can do? He can throw grenades at his own wall. He could throw magic mics at the other wall. He can shoot the other DZ. He can do whatever he wants because he's in the temple. Okay? Should be easy to follow so far. All right. Let's say Mir doesn't even want to go for the temple right now, but they said, you know what? Buzz is in that temple, and Craven Light says, I am going to Petro Buzz. So he plays Petro. Knocks Buzz out. Now the temple is open. Okay? If Craven Light could move after his turn, because he is the home team, or whoever, not just the home team, because that temple has had a player established, once that player is moved out, even in round 1, another player could move in. Make sense? Yes. Temple has range everywhere, and everywhere has range on the temple. Okay? So now, even though Buzz unlocked his temple, because he was in there, at least established himself in there, he can be knocked out, even in round 1, and somebody else could occupy that. So it could be a legendary, could be something that moves him out, maybe it's an ion, whatever. But either team can now occupy that chamber. Okay? The other flame still cannot be occupied by either team until either the away team puts out the flame, or in round number 2, let's fast forward. Let's say Mir never put out the flame. And let's say Craven never knocked Buzz out, okay? We get to the end of round number 1. Now guess what happens? At the start of round number 1, Patch can put out this flame. So when Patch puts out the away team's chamber, type in chat right now, which team has to be the first to occupy the away team's chamber if Patch is the one that extinguished it in round number 2? Patch is the home team. Not both. The team that puts out the flame has to be the first team to occupy that chamber. That's what keeps it balanced. That way, you're not putting out a flame for somebody else to zoom in and take your shot. So the first team that puts out the flame in the temple is the first one that has to occupy it that round. Once it gets to a new round, you can't keep it on lock. It's open season after a round or after you occupy it. So again, I'm going to walk you through these steps. Those in the competition committee that heard this, please feel free to chime in because people are going to need your help understanding this. I'm going to walk you back through this because this is a major, major change to the game. And it does affect lineups, and it does affect strategy. All right. So you start out the game with the temple on fire. In round number 1, if both teams put out a fire, player number 1, let's say Patch does, then the second player could move into the temple. Nothing keeping you from doing that. But you can prevent the shots. So if you want to play a temple game and stall the other team, because remember, you keep them out a round or two, guess what you're getting? You're getting halos. But if both teams put out a flame, and then player number 3, let's say Gemstone knocks Buzz out, and let's say Crimson moves in at the end of the turn, you could still lock down the temple in round number 1. Once a player is there, they can be knocked out and then you can get it. But the first round of flame is put out, it has to be occupied by the team that puts out the flame. After that round, it is open season. If you understand it, give me a 999. If you don't and you need it explained again, type in chat that you need it explained again. And I will explain it because this is a very important change. And it is a bigger deal than you guys realize. Because you can't cameo to the temple like you could before. It was so cookie cutter. The first move by so many players was cameo to the temple, play boss on Main Street, light a flame. Cameo to the temple, boss to Main Street, light a flame. Not anymore. You cannot get in the temple when there is a flame there. You just can't. It's not going to there's no way to get in. The only way you can occupy the temple is if those flames are not there. Now, once the flames are put out, they don't light back up. You can't light the temple fire. It starts out lit, but the strategy is whether or not you're going to put out your flame, whether or not somebody else is going to put out the flame, or if it's going to carry over to round number 2. Because while you're playing a boss and putting out a flame, there you go. Bonnie might say, I'm not going to worry about the temple right now. We're going to light a straw man. And then you may say, okay, that's fine and well. We're going to occupy the temple. And then they get desperate and Craven's like, well, I better put out a flame. And Patch says, no, I'm going to psycho that. And now your flame's still there. So you can prevent them from even getting in there. There are still steps to the temple. So yes, at the end of a turn, if your chamber is open and you're on the steps, you would cycle into that. So that would still roll somebody else into there. All right, so first major change is how are you going to occupy the temple? All right, so change number 2 is going to be a lot of times the bombers are the first to go. So now if B-Dub uses her shot to get the temple and Craven goes here, well, Craven can hit his own wall from the temple. He can hit the other wall from the temple, but he may not be the person that has the best bombs. All right. Pretty cool start. So now you got to decide, occupy a zone, jump in a tank, jump in a rover, get the temple, light a straw man, hit the wall, control the DZ. What the heck do we do? Okay. Now, all the things that I mentioned, leave in chat what you would like to talk about next. Leave in chat, and I will go through the mechanics of the next thing. Could be bury the dead, could be raise the dead, could be rover, could be tanks, could be the squid bid. All right. I'm going to start with bury the dead, raise the dead. Okay, you have two choices here. How and when you play them is up to you. All right, let's put everybody back where they go. So throughout the game, you are going to do three different things with transportation. You could have a player jump in the Range Rover. You could have a player jump in a tank. You could have a player release the Scarage. And it goes to the wall and it does wall damage. Okay? So, if you want to bury the dead, what that is going to do, and there's a way you do this, I'll explain it. That is going to give you a grid, and you potentially, not potentially, once you get to bury the dead, you will destroy the other team's rover, the other team's tank, or the other team's Scarage. Okay? So if turn number one, I want to bury the dead, I potentially could keep Deadly Dimes from jumping into a tank. Pretty cool. Here's the way it works. Okay? Let's say I go first, and I'm Patch, and I've got three options. Okay? I have to hit, a successful hit is important. You don't have to do it at the beginning. I'm going to tell you about bury the dead and raise the dead. Okay? Patch goes over and does a melee attack on this tombstone, and it has to be done this way. Okay? You have to use a Super 8. Has to be a Super 8 potion. Only a Super 8 potion. And it has to be a successful hit. It can be a Super 8 with a grenade. It can be a Super 8 with a shot. Or it can be a Super 8 with melee. Now, the other team may see you over there stabbing this tombstone, and they may play Ellie. Or they may play Blue. Or they may play Psycho. But let's just say they don't do anything. And your first turn, or second round, whatever, you say, I'm going to bury the dead. I'm going to take you to this screen. There are only 3 icons in this, so you are guaranteed to match one. So, Ocean Man, give me 3 numbers from 1 to 9. And we're going to keep going until you match 2. You don't have to match all 3. All you got to do is match 2 out of 3. 7, 2, and 4. So Ocean Man says 7. All right, there's a rover. Then we go 2. There's a tank. So if this is a rover or a tank, the other team's rover or tank is going to be destroyed. So number 4 is a tank. Guess what? The other team just lost their tank. No enrage. No cannonball. You ain't getting it. He just buried the dead. It's out of play. So pretty good move, Ray. So now your team automatically has you got a tank and they don't. That is your attack. You can play a pet, but it has to be a full attack, and you have to put a Super 8 with it. All right, so they still got their Scarage. They still got their Rover. But their tank is out of play. Now, that does not have to be done in turn number 1. You can play that anytime during the game. But here's the deal, okay? Listen up. If they don't have a tank, you can still play Bury the Dead, but if you match tanks, you don't get rid of their Rover, you don't get rid of the Scarage, okay? You can still gamble, and you can play it later on. They may have used their tank, they may have used their Scarage, and you may say, you know what? I'm going to try to Bury the Dead anyway. I got a 33% chance of getting their Rover, and I want to take their Rover out of play. All right. If someone is in the vehicle, it does not destroy it. If it is alive and it is occupied, it does not get destroyed. These are for idle vehicles only. Idle only. Make sense? So, you could use it at the beginning of a game and take someone's item out early. You could use it in the middle of a game after they've already maybe used their Rover, but they haven't used their tank yet. So it's up to you when you use it. Now, here's what's so important about that. I'm going to explain the tanks, okay? When someone jumps in the tank, what do they get? Leave it in chat. So when you jump in the tank, what do you get? Cannonball. All right. But you no longer get Enrage 2. So now, the round that you get in the tank, you get that level of Enrage. And it goes up every turn. So there's a couple different ways to play this. Number 1, you can get in the tank in round 1, and you start out with an Enrage 1. If nobody knocks you out of the tank, and you stay in there, in round 2, you get an Enrage 2. In round 3, you get an Enrage 3. In round 4, you get an Enrage 4. At the end of halftime, or at the end of round 4, it's halftime, your tank disappears. Let's say you didn't occupy your tank and you saved it for the second half. In round 5, you get in the tank, it's still there. What is your Enrage level if you first occupy the tank in the first turn of the second half? It's E5. In the second turn of the second half, it's E6. Exactly, provided they have not buried it already. And if you stay in there round 5, 6, and 7, at the end of the game, your final round, you're going to get an Enrage 7. So you could start at the beginning, get 1, 2, 3, 4. You could jump in there at the end of the first half, just one turn, and get into Rage 4 before you leave. You could jump in there in the beginning of the second half and get an E5 and stay in there E5, 6, 7. Or you could just leave it there and have somebody sneak in and jump in it in round 7 if it's still up, and you get an E7 in addition to what you already have. So tank rage is going to be huge. You still get 25 points for a cannonball. So occupying it, you get it. Now I'm going to get into super, super cool. Okay. So that scenario where Ray just got rid of the other team's tank. That was pretty cool, right? Hang on, Jim. You're getting ahead of me. So where Ray just got rid of the buried tank. I'm the other team. Throughout the game, I got one of two options. I can now do what Ray just did, but remember, I got to hit this tombstone, and I got to hit it with what? Which potion? I need to have a successful attack on that tombstone. I'm the other team with what potion? It can be a melee attack. It can be a grenade. It can be a shot. But it has to be an S8. So now I choose at the beginning. I say I'm going to bury the dead or raise the dead. Now, this is where it gets tricky. So let's say I want to do what Ray just did, and I want to get rid of one of your 3 vehicles. I'm going to bury the dead. But let's say I want to try to get my tank back. Now again, so far in the game, the only thing that's happened, the Range Rover has not been occupied, the Scarage has not been occupied, Ray has destroyed my tank. So if I go to raise the dead to get my tank back, what are my odds of successfully getting my tank back? Leave it in chat right now. %. All right. But now I'm going to make it a lot of fun for you guys, okay? This is where it gets crazy. Let's say I have used my Scarage. I have used my tank. And I have used my Rover. And nobody buried any of them. I just used them and they're gone. Guess what I can do to take a shot and get a second tank? Now this is where it gets crazy. Guess what I can do now? I can raise it back up. What are my odds if I have used a Scarage, a tank, and a Rover? What are my odds of getting one of those 3 back? It's 100%. So I am guaranteed to get one of those back to use them again this round. 100%. And if I jump back in a tank a second time, guess what I get a second one of? Leave it in chat right now. A second cannonball. So now I can load up on my PCP points. If I jump in a Range Rover, I can get a second tire. Or I can use my Scarage and then raise the dead, and I can get another Scarage in the same half that I already had one. So if you got people like releasing boats, they release the Scarage, and if somebody else goes over, they raise the dead. They got a 1 in 3 chance of it being a scarage, but if they've already used a tank, they've already used a rover, maybe they've gotten knocked out of it, now they get a chance to bring it back. All right. Everybody understand tanks to this point. And then we're going to go over rovers and we're going to go over scarage, okay? If you've got the raise the dead, bury the dead down, give me a 999 right now. You have a chance to knock out one of theirs. You have a chance to bring one of yours that's been knocked out. Or, yes, it is a Super 8. And it has to be a successful hit on that tombstone. It is powerful, yes. All the PCP points stay the same. Nothing has changed with PCP points. Okay? But if I'm with the other team, I might prevent it or stop it or do something, but you get them to burn a prevention. But raise the dead is the most powerful thing we have put in the game, because you're going to see why bringing a tank back or bringing a rover back is such a big deal. All right. Everybody has the bury the dead, the raise the dead. They know the requirements. You can destroy one from the other team. And even if the other teams use 2 things, you can still gamble and go 1 in 3 if you want, but it is a gamble. Obviously, if you've used all 3, it's not as much of a gamble because you're definitely getting one of those 3 back. All right. Let me address right now. There is a way to capsize tanks, scarages, and rovers. Leave it in chat right now if you can tell me how I can flip these items over. So you cannot use it. Two seismic grenades. 2 successful seismic grenades will flip over the rover, the tank, or the scarage, your choice. Before, it was the boat and the battleship. Now, seismic grenades, 2 of those successfully hit, you will get to choose. I want to flip their tank, I want to flip their rover, and I'm telling you, you're going to have a hard time making a decision, because I just told you about the tanks and how that rage scales up. Well, let me tell you about the rover and how good this is. So, rover, much like the tank, when you jump in it, you get a 25-point tire just like a cannonball. All right? That's what you get. The rover has some cool abilities. Number 1, and the most important, is when you are in the rover, you can hit anywhere on the map with your grenade or your shot. That means if I'm in the rover and I drive up to my DZ, I can throw a Mighty Mike all the way over and rebuild their wall. Or I can throw a grenade and hit my wall. Or I can throw a grenade and hit a boss on Main Street. Or I can throw a grenade and hit their DZ. Okay, understand this for a minute, because that is range. I can throw a BT-7 all the way across the map if I choose to. So if somebody is in that rover and you don't like them having range and you don't potentially want them, you better knock them out of the rover. Fear smoke, don't do it. It's got to be a pet that knocks them out. It's got to be a grenade that knocks them out. But you can't go over and fear them. If you go over and fear them, it's going to fear them and their rover. All right, so The rover gives you a tire. The rover gives you unlimited range. The rover can be buried and bury the dead. It can be flipped with a seismic grenade. You can be ejected out of it, like with a tank. So a lot of the same attributes. But there is a very difficult bonus that you can get if you are the first person to turn the ignition on the rover. And it is going to be hard to get, but believe me when I tell you, it's going to be some nice points and somebody's going to get it. How many people would like to get 150 bonus points for your team? How many people? Leave it in chat right now. If you would like a way that you potentially could get 150 points, leave it in chat right now. That's like half a wall. Okay. You don't have to start in the rover position to get this, but you do have to be the person to occupy the rover. All right, so for example, Buzz jumps in the rover. That is requirement number 1. That means nobody else on my team can get this 150 points. The rover has to be the first action in order to get the occupy bonus. So you can't go to all these zones and then in the last move jump into the rover. So what I'm doing is whoever jumps in the rover, that is going to make them and them only potentially eligible for something. Now, if throughout the rest of the game, let's say Buzz jumps in the rover and he decides to stay in the rover zone. He has occupied the rover, and he has occupied at the end of that turn, it has to be at the end of the turn, 1 zone. Okay? Let's say Buzz gets knocked out of the rover, and the rover disappears. That's okay, because he's already met the requirement. So next turn, Buzz sneaks into the temple, throws a grenade. You guys aren't even paying attention. You're like, man, that dang Buzz, he's in the temple. We'll stop it. And then you get to the next round, and Buzz is like, let me sneak over to the DZ. So Buzz camps out in the DZ, round 3 or round 4, and you don't even know Buzz is over there. Buzz is a good player. He's all over the place. He's versatile. And then we get to the second half, Buzz is still in. And in round 5, Buzz, there's no tank there, but Buzz just sneaks down to the tank zone. He says, I'm moving to the tank zone, and I'm going to throw a grenade. It's like, okay, cool, Buzz is there. And then in round 6, Buzz goes over to the bomber zone. And by that point, you're like, oh, hell. Buzz has been a rover. He's been in the rover zone. He's been in the temple. He's been in the DZ. He's been in the tank. And if he ends this round in the bomber, he's getting 150 points because he occupied every zone. He doesn't have to be the rover. Again, if he is the first person to get into the Jeep, and throughout the rest of the game, he spends at least the end of the turn in each zone. So if he jumps in the rover and immediately drives to the temple, he's got the rover ignited and the temple. And then he still needs to establish himself in the rover zone, so he may go back to the rover zone. But he's got to end the turn there. So it's not where you start the turn. It's whether or not you are the first person in the rover, and if you end a round in each of those 5 zones throughout the game. Not whether you end up in 2 rounds in the same. It is where you end the round. So that means in most cases, there are only 2 potential people that could do that. Now, you could raise the dead, but it's going to take you at least 5 rounds to accomplish this feat. So even if you raise the dead in round 2, you're going to have to be pushing in order to get there. And by that point, hopefully the other team is charting your progress and they're like, wait a minute, Buzz is moving around awful lot. We need to petro him out of the tank zone at the end of that turn. Now, next turn, he could go back in. If he's knocked out, he can still reestablish himself, but he has to end a round in each of those areas. If he does that, he'll get 150 bonus points. Now, what's cool about that is if you're in the rover, you can still do everything you would normally do. Like you can be in the rover and you can throw grenades here. You can go to the DZ, you can still throw grenades. You can be in the rover, you can play a pet. So, look, it is not impossible. But now you got, hey, somebody in the tank. Do we keep them in the tank? Somebody in the rover. Do we keep them in the rover? All right. Or if you get knocked out, you could always do it again. All right. Makes sense. Everybody got it. Now, how many people's mind just went to, I'm going to jump in the rover in round number 1. I'm going to get out of the rover so it disappears. I'm going to try to raise the dead and gamble to get a second rover, and we're going to try to get 2 people that occupy every zone. How many people just thought of that? Then do it. Then do it. It's up to the other team to stop you from doing it. I'm not going to stop you from doing it. Get in the rover. Now, what could stop you from doing it is you got a 33% chance of raising the dead if you do it immediately, because you're going to have to raise the dead by round 2. So it is possible, but it's not likely. And then all the other team really has to do is keep you out of one of those zones for a round. But it does create a little chaos, like, oh, where's this person? Where's this person? So it is exactly supposed to create movement on the map. How many people can tell that my focus this season was to get characters to stop being stationary, to get them to move and experience different parts of the map? All right. Now, we got one more vehicle. So we've mastered the tanks. We've mastered the rover. We know what we can get for the tank. We know what we can get for the rover. We know that we can bury the dead. We know that we can raise the dead. We know we can use seismic. So we've covered almost everything. Now I want to tell you about scarage, okay? And Tammy will help you guys with this. I'm going to ask Tammy to put together a scarage grid. Now, here's what I mean by that. You have the ability to release the carriage the same way you did the boat, and everything works the same. Give me a 999 if you understand that first. I'm a ninja. I release a carriage. I don't do anything else. My carriage goes and does the same thing it's always done. I'm a warrior. It does the same thing. I'm a medic. It does the same thing. I'm a sniper. It does the same thing. I can say it over and over again. However, if you put a specialty grenade, probably one that you have a lot of, right? A lithium. Or maybe you never use Rapture. Or maybe you never use seismic. You probably will now. If you put a specialty grenade and an H9 in that carriage, it does something different. Okay, so listen up. I'm not going to tell, I'll go through it. Tammy will post the grid. So, if you say release Scarage, Rapture H9, then I know you're adding some fuel to that carriage. So here's what happens. Your carriage gets released, and it's got that H9 and that grenade in there, and it hits whenever it was going to hit. All the release is exactly the same. But because you loaded it up, once it hits, it creates a ghost carriage for free. Now, that second carriage, you don't have to release it again. It is free. So once that one hits, it triggers the ghost carriage automatically. And it also does not count against your carriages. Yes, Gump works, Pirate works, everything works the same. Okay? But right now, let me tell you what the ghost carriage does, because that's where the people are going to get confused. It does not trigger the ghost carriage until the other one hits. Even if it is prevented, which some of them can, it still triggers the ghost carriage. So if it is a warrior carriage, and you get all the way there, and you say, I'm preventing those 3 blocks, you still can. I'm going to say it a 4th time. There are no changes to the initial carriage. Everything is the same. But once that carriage has resolved, either prevented or damages, because you paid the price of a very nice grenade and the highest H9 potion in the game, you get a ghost carriage that does half the effect of what the normal carriage would do. Now, here's where it gets complicated. It does not work out for every class. So I have a grid, and I'm going to read it, and if you want the whole grid, you can get it from Tammy. But I'm going to tell you what the Scarage, the ghost Scarage does, not the main one, because we've already established what? The main one does exactly the same thing as the other one. So here is what the Scarage does that is kind of free for you guys. I use free because you understand you already paid for it, okay? So the ghost carriage, if you are an engineer, it will give you 1 block in 1 turn. That's half of what the engineer normally does. If you're a warrior, it will create a ghost carriage that takes 4 turns to get there. That could go all the way through half. But the new Scarage, not the ghost carriage, the new Scarage will populate in round 5. So you got your own little ghost carriage going over there, and the new one will still pop up, and you can still release the new one. And the new one might even hit before the ghost carriage hits, and that's fine. That's okay. So each is basically half the effectiveness of the first one. So a warrior would be 4 turns and 3 blocks. So if I'm a warrior and I release the carriage and I put a Rapture and an H9, my first one in 2 turns is going to get there and it's going to take out 3 blocks. Once it hits or gets prevented, my second one will be there in 4 turns and it's going to take out 3 blocks too. But it takes twice as long, which means how you time it is what's important. But theoretically, a warrior could take out a wall. You'll figure it out. A ninja, first carriage is 3 turns and takes out 2 blocks. The Scarage is 3 additional turns, 1 block, non-preventable, so it's free. So all y'all ninjas out there, you release a boat, you load it up, or you release a scarage. First one's going to get you 3 turns, 2 blocks. Second one's going to get you 3 turns, 1 block. Obviously, you can't use the scarage in the second half with every class because it's after the first one hits. So a ninja would not be able to use this ability in the second half because it would take 3 additional turns. There's only 3 turns in the second half. So the first one hits in 2 turns. The second one wouldn't hit until like turn 9 or 10. So a lot of these will be used in round 1, or you'll switch classes in the DZ and you'll play a class that can use the scarage and can get 2 attacks in. There are 2 classes that do that. We'll cover those in a minute. The medic. The medic is 2 turns, rebuilds 2 blocks. The scarage is 2 turns, and it'll rebuild 1 additional block. The tank, 2 turns, 2 blocks. The scarage, 4 turns, 2 blocks. A sniper, 1 turn, 1 block, can't be prevented. The scarage version, 2 turns, 1 block, still can't be prevented. The priest is the only one that's a little bit wacky because it just didn't work out. But the priest is 2 turns, damage 1 on 1 turn, rebuild 1 on the other one. The scarage is 2 additional turns, and it will only damage, it will not rebuild. So, again, scarage only is all I'm reading this time. Engineer, 1 turn, 1 block. Warrior, 4 turns, 3 blocks. Ninja, 3 turns, 1 block. Medic, 2 turns, 1 block rebuilt. Tank, 4 turns, 2 blocks. Sniper, 2 turns, 1 block. Priest, 2 turns, 1 damage block. Most are preventable. You should know the classes that are not preventable. So again, that is the scarage. So you could go to the DZ, load up the scarage, put a specialty grenade, put an H9, release it, get out of the DZ, go do something else, and your first one's going to hit. You're already, in the temple doing other stuff. Then the second one's going to hit. So you don't have to camp out in the DZ. Then somebody else can sneak in the second half, a different class. That is correct. That is your only enrage. So if you use the H9, you won't get another enrage. That is absolutely correct. So that's a little bit of the price you got to pay. So I will challenge each of you, make sure you pay attention to the scarages as well, because it may cost you a game if you don't know what people are doing. It can easily take down a wall and a half with a good, savvy player. All right. We have covered raise the dead, bury the dead, tanks, rovers, scarages, the temple fire, which category you guys want to talk about next? We still have elevation in the DZ. Points have not changed in the DZ. All right, we'll start with the Coliseum. Still have DZ portal. That's a good question, Ray. So yes, you can DZ portal over to the other side. Points are going to be the same. The portal is the same. Halos are the same. But you know what is different is now there won't be quite the same bullseye on the DZ because the tanks and the rovers are going to take a little bit of that bullseye. So it's not going to be as painful, I think, for the defenders. Last season, defenders were targeted. Now you got to figure out, like, I got to target everybody. And think about it. Bombers are going to be suffocating in 2 rounds. So they're going to start out already down like 80%. So do you light a flame? Do you go after the DZ? Do you take the temple? Do you kill somebody's low health? Do you move around? Do you try to get some of the bonus points? Do you bury the dead? Do you raise the dead? All right. So here's the way Colosseum works. Colosseum. Think dungeon. Okay? Similar rules to dungeon. So let me kind of reiterate. Before we get to Colosseum, you guys have played the Portal now 3 seasons. So I'm going to start with the Portal before I get to Colosseum. Portal. You go into the Portal. You got a trivia question. One person has high ground, one person has low ground. You can use all your legendaries. You can use all your weapons, whatever you want to do. For clarification, to make sure we're all on the same page with rules, you can use Vile Smoke in the Portal. You can use Dust Smoke in the Portal. You cannot use Torment Smoke in the Portal. You can use Ellie in the Portal. And if you play Vines, and you're the second player, they will resolve. Because Vines plants in the ground. Now, if you're the first player, hopefully you have a absorption or enough health so you don't lose by somebody's Vines at the very end. But Vines will hit. That should be very straightforward. Everybody should understand how to play the Portal. So, if you like going in there, you like using your legendaries, go in, do your thing in the Portal. If you play the dungeon, dungeon is the maze. Pick your 4 digits. After you pick those, you pick a buff, or you pick a pet, or you give them a stasis. And same thing, when you get the maze, you're up 1. And every time you hit them, you knock them down 1. And when you knock them down to the hook, they take more damage. Then you knock them down again. Then you knock them on the blade, they take more damage. But you can't use a single legendary. Nothing. No activations, no legendaries, no nothing. So if the Portal and the dungeon had a baby, it would be called the Gauntlet, and that is the Colosseum. So it is a combination of those 2 things. So first of all, the person that goes in the Colosseum person that runs up to the Colosseum is going to pick who they summon. And the person that goes to the Colosseum is going to pick maze or trivia. They get to choose. Maybe they're not good with the mazes, but they're great with trivia. So they're going to pick. And it is the mind portion. So whoever wins gets a very, very important decision. You get to choose your weapon. And whatever you choose, the other person cannot use that type of weapon. So we got Julia here, we got Moonshot. So Moonshot, you took Julia into the Gauntlet and you won the trivia. Which weapon would you like to use? Would you like to use a gun, a bow, a melee weapon, or a grenade? All right, he's picking a gun, okay? Now that means Moonshot can use any gun in his inventory, even legendary guns. He cannot activate any legendaries. There are no legendary activations in the Colosseum. But if he has a fuse, he can use it. He gets all the stats. It is a fight. He can use any legendary, but there are no legendary activations. Now, Julia, Which category would you like to choose? And oh, by the way, you can't pick the one that he picked. So you can't use any guns. So you have to use a bow, a melee, or grenades. Now, Moon can't use any grenades either. So he can only use guns. But Julia can use a bow. And she's like, wait a minute. All right, so Julia's going to pick swords. All right, so these two would fight. They can use all their pets. They can use all the other abilities they would use in the dungeon. Class abilities. But Julia can't fire any shots. She can't throw any grenades. Moonshot can only use guns. And we battle. Now, if Moon hits Julia, he knocks her down a level. Bam. He hits her again, knocks her down a level. She takes the extra 10%. She hits him. She would jump up temporarily for melee. Try to stab him. Up. He could play Ellie. Guess what? Now she's going to be all the way down here. She may play Vines, knock him down one. He hits her again. She goes down here, takes more damage. Because she has melee, she sets up a big, big attack. She absolutely crushes him. But it only knocks him down one, even though it's a big attack. And you get the idea, okay? Moonshot would win the trivia. Moonshot wins this. Julia could win the damage. No activations at all. None. No cosmic. The only thing you can do is use your class abilities. That's the only activations you can use. Now, part of the strategy here is, number one, hopefully you have some options of different types of weapons. Okay? So you're not a one-trick pony. Number two, you're going to learn to play with different types of weapons. So Julia could have chosen grenades. Now, Moon could have chosen grenades and then used his ability and got rid of her blue. And said, you know what? I'm just going to throw grenades at you. And you're not going to throw them. Boom, boom, boom. You ain't going to stop them. So that's an option. But if he would have done that, no, you get to choose one thing. If he would have done that, then she would be able to shoot him with a very powerful gun. So one of it is knowing your opponent, knowing what you want to use, but it's also knowing what you don't want them to use. Now, again, this is one of three different options. So you got the option to go in the portal. You got the option to go into the Coliseum for the gauntlet. You got the option to go in the dungeon. Or you got the option to go in none of them. You don't have to. Rules are the same. Health will reset on the way out. If you win, you get 200 points. If you kill a person while you're in there, you get a ruffled feather. Same scoring rules apply. Correct. Rounds 1 and 2. Same rules. All right. Any questions? All right, I'm going to set it up for the next category. What other questions do you guys have? There's a few more things we haven't covered yet. Portal, Dungeon, and Gauntlet, and Pet Battles should be introduced sometime this season. And Pet Battles may be allowed even with the other ones. There is a brand new squid bid. And it's going to work a little different. Okay. Home team still has the option. Play the squid, kill the squid. Craven and Moonshot. Moonshot, I want you to challenge Craven to a squid game, and I'm going to show how this is going to work. Or Moon's going to challenge, and then the other team is going to pick who they want. So Moon's going to say squid bid, and then the other team's Craven's going to say, I'm going in. All right, so there you go. So Craven's going to accept the challenge for the other team. All right, did you guys see the grid? All right. Craven, you don't get to choose first. He gets to choose first. You're already giving it away. So Moon, I flashed it up on the screen. So this is what I'm going to do. At the beginning, I'm going to put it up on the screen for 1 or 2 seconds. I'm not going to tell you what you're looking for, but I'm going to show you the map. Now, you don't have to bid one higher. Let me give you an example. Let's say Craven's team is getting destroyed. And Craven's like, you know what? I don't have time to play around. I'm not getting in this bid thing. I actually want to do the squid grid. So Craven's going to come out of the gates and Craven's going to say, I can get 10. Now I got 8 up on the board, but Craven might say, look, I don't even want to bid with you. This is me against myself. And Craven could say 10. And Moon is going to decide that, but we'll get to that in a second. So Craven, Moon bid 5. So do you want to up that? Or you want to let him have it at 5? Now again, he could say 6, he could say 7. All right. So Craven says, I don't even want to do it. So now Moon is going to have to get 5 in 20 seconds. All right, so here's what's different. How many squid did you have to get last season not to take 50% damage? Okay. How many does Jason now have to get to not take 50% damage? All 5, baby. All 5. But there's more. If he doesn't get all 5, he takes 50% damage, and Craven Light's team gets 50 points because he failed. So you do get something. You get points. So if he gets 4, Sly gets 50 points. If he gets 1, Sly gets 50 points. If he gets 0 and doesn't even try, Sly gets 50 points and he takes 50% damage. So if the other person fails, no matter how many they have, type in chat right now, how many points does your team get? Make sure everybody's paying attention. All right, easy. Now, if Jason gets all 5 of these, he doesn't take any damage, and the new total is 15 points for each squid you get. It's not 25 any longer. So if he gets 5, he gets 75 points for his team, and Sly gets 0. That's a big jump, because we used to have squid grids where, hey, you got 100, I got 75. You got this, I got that. Well, now, if he goes out and he gets these 5, he gets 75 points. What happens to Craven Light if he gets these 5? %50 damage. He doesn't die, he takes 50% damage. All right, and this is what I meant by if you're a little bit desperate and somebody else says I'm bidding 1 and you already know in your mind what you think you can get. You don't have to go 2, because somebody could lock you out and say, okay, well, fine. You're only going to get 30 points and I'm at full health, so I'm okay. So sometimes you might just want to bid what you think you can get and lock the other person out. So in that case, it might be Kel and Craven says, I can get 3. And Kel's like, well, I can get 10. And everybody's going to be like, what? So she might be on a roll and she gets all 10. How many points would she get if she gets all 10? $150 points. Would 150 points and knocking Craven down to 50% for a potential kill, could that be game-changing? That could be 400 points. And a ruffled feather. So think about that for a second. So Squid Bid is a very, very powerful tool, because you could bid 7, you could bid 8, you could really use this as a means to go in and say, Squid Bid, I'm bidding first, I'm the home team, I can get 7. Now that other person is going to be like, whoa, do I go 8? Or can they really, really get 7 and they're going to get 105 points to 0 and knock me down to 50%? Or should I gamble and get 8? This is going to be a lot of fun. So I hope we don't cheese it too much and just kill the squid every time. I mean, if you're rocking and you don't need it, I get it. But this could be a really, really good game shift. One way or the other. It's pretty powerful. So I'm hoping we do see some squid bid action. All right, and again, 20-second timer is the default. All timers will be 20 seconds plus your halt. So there are no 15-second timers this season. It's going to be 20. And I would have already told you. So once you bid, I will give you the items at that point. I'll show you a sneak peek of it. So you'll see how complicated the map looks. You're already going to kind of know where some of the items are. Then you'll get your bidding. No, if you say 3, I'm only giving you 3. I'm only giving you the first 3. That's all you can get. So 45 is the max. That's why it's going to be such a powerful tool to bid the right way. If you say 10, I'm going to give you a list of 10. But I'm only going to give you what you bid. So I think the squid's got a whole new meaning. All right, so we talked about the squid grid. Gauntlet, maze, scarage, squid bid. Raise the dead, bury the dead. All right, one more thing we got to talk about. Oh, this is going to be heads and tails. Every upgrade we did, and I want to tell you guys, this has been in the works for about 2.5 months. So this is, and I did not finish it till today. And I still got the pets to add, but this has been such a relief for me to see this on screen, to walk you guys through it, to see the banners, a couple more things I want to talk about. Okay, elevation stays the same. No changes to elevation. Suffocation will hit the bomber zone only in round 3 and round 5. It is 20%, and it is preventable, but seals and absorptions do not stop it. So you got to burn a cooldown if you really, really want to save. So if somebody comes out of the gate and they've hit a bomber, and a bomber's sitting at 20%, then they're still in round 3. Suffocation would kill them. So obviously they would use a prevention. So you can prevent it, but a seal or an absorption will not prevent it. Has to be a class prevention. All right, so that is altitude is the same. Suffocation is new. All right, one more thing. What happens every time you attack a straw man, not your pet? Every time you hit a straw man, smoke inhalation. All right, your pet can spread a flame, but every time you fire at a straw man, you are taking D10. You're taking 10% damage. Seals and absorptions will stop the smoke damage that you take. So if you are sealed and you hit a straw man, it is going to break your seal. If you're absorbed and you hit a straw man, it is going to break your absorption. So every time you hit a straw man, you're going to have to pay attention to your health, your heal, your seals, your absorption, all of those things. If you have 2 straw men lit and a pet hits it and you hit it, it's just your attack that takes the damage. The pet has no effect. Everybody understand altitude, inhalation, suffocation. Give me a 999 right now. It has to hit. So if it is psychoed, if it is blued, you don't take the smoke damage. All right. One more thing. What does that mean? That is correct, JJ. When you come in and that area has to be occupied. When you come in and you take 20% damage. All right. The lightning bolts. Everybody understand what the lightning bolts are for? That is your gold jersey. That is the person who is saying hits or waits. Does not have to be the person who challenges. If you want a separate person to challenge, that's up to you. The captain is the person that is calling the game. They are the person saying hits, wait, that is the function. If a captain also wants to challenge, that is up to them. But a lot of factions have one person that's saying hits and waits. They have another person that is solely responsible for the challenges. That can be anybody on the team. It's whoever you designate. Could be Jim. Could be Craven. Could be Crimson. Could be B-Dub. That is a person that's calling the game. It's a person that's in tune with the game. It's a person that's keeping the game going. Now, if you kill that person, how many bonus points do you get for killing the captain? Leave it in chat right now. $150 in addition to the other points. The captains will be hunted. Feather is dead. No, Jason. No. Hold on. It's not 175. It's more. So KBs, the first killing blow is worth 200 points. So if you killed a captain, it would be 200 plus 150 plus 25 is 375. The second killing blow is worth 250. So if you killed another player first, you would get 225, 200 plus 225. And if you killed the captain second, that captain is now going to be worth 425. So 200 for the first kill plus a ruffled feather. 250 for the second kill plus a ruffled feather. If you kill the captain, you are walking away with 150 bonus points. All right, I think that's everything on the map. You've gotten a tour. You see where everything is. Raise the dead, bury the dead will be signified by this. If somebody buries the dead, it'll go there. If they raise the dead, it will go there. Otherwise, these flames will stay there. Does not count if you kill them in the dungeon. Only counts in the field of play. So the only points you get for killing somebody in a dungeon is the ruffled feather. All right. Before we get into the specialty matches, I'll get into those in a second, because there's going to be several different types. Any additional questions to this map, this layout, where to find something, where something goes, blessing still the same, DZ point still the same. You can get tires, you can get cannonballs, you can get DZ points. Oh! Survive 5. Forgot to tell you guys about that. Okay. This gold orb. That's what it is. Thank you. The gold orb and all right. The first player, have a good night, Angel. And we got some more Vox in here, so we're just on the last couple things. If a player, and this is one player, not two. The first player, if a player does this, to survive 5 rounds in the temple. If you survive 5, you get the orb PCP, and that is 100-point orb. So you have to occupy the temple for 5 of the 7 rounds. It's not both teams. It is the first person to accomplish this feat, if anybody. So if a player is able to stay in the temple for 5 rounds, the first player to do that will get the orb. No other player will get it. Doesn't have to be consecutive. They have to finish 5 rounds in the temple. Everybody understand it? Should be easy to understand, might be difficult to do. It is called Survive 5, and if you were in the temple for 5 rounds, and you're the first person, if you're the second person, you get nothing. So with the flames, you can see a scenario where somebody might try to keep you from getting in your temple chamber, protect their person, try to lock it down. You could theoretically get all the halos, could be 300 points, get 100 points, 400 points. I mean, there's some way you can score with the temple. So now you got ways to get the strawmen, to get the DZ, to get the rovers, to get the range, to get the enrages from the tanks, to protect yourself, to squid bid, and to my knowledge, that covers everything that we're going to do this season. All right, before we get into specialty matches, any additional questions with this particular map? Subs are the same. Lineups are the same. Cyborgs are the same. Wands are the same. Seismic grenades take down different targets. All right. Last and not least, we've got an amazing season lined up for you guys. And what is unique about this season is you're going to have a slate of games, home and away. There'll be normal circumstances. You're also going to have some neutral field games that will change just a little bit. Obviously, the temple doesn't matter. In the past, the temple was in the middle. That will stay. You'll have some more chest. You'll have some different bonuses in the neutral field. One of the things that people are very excited about are the red wedding matches. So the red wedding adds an additional jersey, and it is a red jersey. So you will play different teams red wedding. So you'll have at least 2 red wedding matches. So one will be at home, one will be away. But there are different types of matches you're going to run into this season. In a red wedding match, the home team will pick 2 players that wear a red jersey. The visiting team will have 1 player that wears a red jersey. The players that are wearing the red jerseys are allowed to use 2 legendaries that game. So, if you're the visiting team, you got a player, probably one of your top players or has the best legendaries, will be able to play 2 legendaries that game. Still can't play it in round 7. Same legendary rules apply, but you get to play an additional one. If you're the home team, you've got 2 players on your team that can each play. So you're getting an additional legendary play playing at home. They're called red weddings because they have red jerseys, but also because they're probably going to be a slaughter fest. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that is one of the pre-announced type of games that we're going to play. We are going to have rival games. We will announce those in advance where you will have a buff against your rival team. So there will be a couple rival games in there. As I said, we'll have rival games, red wedding games, neutral field games, and there could be 1 or 2 others as we get into the season. Be prepared. We could change 1 or 2 of the other matches. I want most of the matches to be this type of layout. So you could see 1 additional type, but it's not going to be like Clash where it's different every week. There will be like a specific set of circumstances, but I don't want it to become just complete chaos. So most of the matches will be either a home or an away match. There's not a lot of difference between home or away. Now, you won't pick which side you want to play on any longer because the range, it just doesn't make sense. So the home team will be given the choice, go first or go last. That's all you get to choose in a regular match. Now, in a red wedding game, obviously being home is going to be cool, right? In a rival game, being home is going to be cool. But in regular matches, you're just going to choose, I think I said left or right. I'm sorry, you're going to choose first or second. That's it. In a regular match, it's first or second. You're always going to be on the right side if you're the home team. You'll always be on the left side if you're the visiting team. So there will be different home field advantage matches, but we'll announce those throughout the season. Okay. I'm going to open it up for any questions that you guys have. Again, I am super, super relieved that we are rolling this out next Monday. I think it is going to be the most fun PvP that we've ever had. We got a big event for you guys Saturday night. Leaders versus non-leaders. You guys can start talking now if you want. Start coming up with your strategies. It will not use items, so the inventory team doesn't have to worry about deducting items. And you're going to go out there and play. So if the item is in your inventory, you can use it. It's going to be a chance for you guys to test the map, test all the different abilities, see how some of the scoring goes in, and really kind of give it one more test run before we go live on Monday. So, if there are no questions, are you guys hyped? What do you guys think? Give me your honest opinion. It's a lot we covered tonight, so I want to know what you guys think about the maps, the banners, the rovers, the abilities. So, what are you most excited for in the brand new season? Leave it in chat right now. I want to see what you are most intrigued to go in and test out. Craven's like, I want to kill a captain. Uh-oh. Shots fired, everybody's like, I want my 400 points. You know what, Villar? I agree. And again, I want to give a couple shout-outs. Number one, Ron had a family event tonight, and he had messaged me earlier, and he said he would watch the playback, and he'll be here Saturday. I'm excited about Raise the Dead, to be honest with you, because I think it's so cool to be able to use a tank, use a rover, and then you might get them back a second time. You will get something back. But Raise the Dead and be able to get extra, well, think about it. I mean, think about how similar it was to have a tank always get in the battleship, right? Get in the battleship, get my cannonball. Well, now I might be able to get rid of your tank. Or you might say, I want 2 cannonballs this time. So it really changes it. It's not just about the person in that position. It's about how the game plays out. So as an individual, you could say, hey, my tank got the first one and they moved to the temple. I want to get the second tank. So to me, the Raise the Dead and Bury the Dead and the Temple Fire is going to be wild. Because there really is no way to tell what somebody is going to do on their first turn. Like, you have to have, if you're the visiting team, you got to have 2 or 3 options. Captain is for the whole game. Yes. Yep. If you kill a captain twice, then that's a lot of points. I mean, I might be hunting captains like the whole game. I'd be like, we're gonna kill your captain twice. It's gonna be like 900 points. Yeah, the ghost carriage too. I'm gonna take down 3 walls, 2 ghost carriages, and kill 2 captains. Now, if the captain goes out of the game, there is no captain to kill. And a captain can be out of the game and call the game. But whoever is the captain stays the captain for the entire game. Can't exchange that. So you need to make sure when you start a game, that's the person that you want to be calling the game, and you want the person potentially to be hunted. Now, if they die and they go out of the game, they're still the captain, and you can't get the points while they're out of the game. But if they come back in, absolutely. Yeah. You know what? B-Dub, I think Craven and Bonnie want to retire you. You better be careful. Craven's going to change his name to HR Craven. Come over here, Bonnie. I'm human resources. I'll help you fill out your paperwork with this crossbow. You know what? I don't think we could have picked a better theme, better abilities, and more activity and more action. So I am taking tomorrow off. This has just been a lot. So a couple shout outs that I want is Busy and I are still working on some very, very small details. We are about 95% with the completed maps. So first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Busy once again. Her and I have been partnering on this for 2.5 months. We wanted something a little bit more realistic. We needed the ability to expand. And to me, this map is perfect. It is absolutely perfect. So I put more time and more thought into this than anything that any map that I've ever created. Number 2, I want to give a big shout out to the competition committee. I throw ideas. I don't always tell them everything I'm doing, but I'll throw ideas out there to sort of fish a little bit to see, well, what about this? What about this? Are there any questions with this? So the competition committee, they're always available. Sometimes they're probably like, we have no clue what he's talking about. It's just some random question. But it means something to me because I'm already thinking about player reaction and some different things. So, want to thank the competition committee as well. And most importantly, I want to thank all of y'all. The way you guys play, the way you guys strategize, what you guys did with the Isles, unbelievable. And I think you guys are going to take this map, and the wheels are already turning, and you guys are going to do some amazing stuff. It will be the best faction war season we have ever had. This is the biggest and the best we've ever done. And when you simultaneously add that to what we're doing with the portal, it's mind-blowing. Okay. Who wants a future portal gaming tidbit that you will only find right here tonight? Who wants like a sneak peek of some 2023 stuff? Okay. So David and I were on the phone for 2 to 2.5 hours yesterday going over gaming ideas, and he loves the idea of turning some of our games into app store apps and going bigger, right? Like, such great concepts. We can do this. And we're talking about the battle pets and different things and competition, and he's like got his wheels turning of this battle pet game is going to be so good. It's going to be so good. We can, give animation to this and that. So while we're talking, this concept really hit home. And we won't have it in the first version of the fishing game. Okay, so I want you to get excited about it, but don't expect it in this version. So there's several core concepts that we want in our gaming. All right, number 1, our games are always a byproduct of our universe and our game, okay? So if we play a fishing game, it is PDL Phantom Fishing. And what I mean by that is it has to make sense to PDL. So here's the way I rationalize it. You guys play, you have faction wars, you have your castle. You got a day off, you want to go fishing. So you can go out, throw the rod in there, catch some PDL items. That makes sense, right? It's phantom fishing. You don't know what you can fish up. They're going to be inventory. So number one, any game that we roll out needs to be rationalized to our PDL universe. All right. Number two, it needs to work with our inventory system. So any game that we create, whether that's trivia, whether it's farming, whether it's pet battle, when you earn items, those items need to go into your inventory. Okay, so that's a criteria. Number three, all of the games that we play will be activated through kills tokens. Okay, that is the price you pay to play the game. Now, there's going to be a free version that you get one test per day. And then there's going to be, hey, I'm going to buy some kills tokens, and I'm going to use those tokens to cast 5 times or 10 times. So kills tokens are going to be our arcade currency. Not dead dimes, not burn coin. It's going to be the kills token. Okay? Number 4, all of our games are going to have leaderboards. So if you play free, you're going to earn items. If you're paying to play the game, you're going to get some prestige. You're going to go up the leaderboard. You're going to have some bells and whistles. Okay? So to me, I was like, that's a really good slate of things for a game. Love it. You know, we got all those things. But then the light bulb went off when we were talking. And we started talking about games where you grow, you develop, you unlock things. So, as you guys know, in version 2, you're going to have your own avatar creator. So you're going to have like this claymation type of thing, and you're going to be able to pick your clothes, you know, your looks, how you stand, your pose. You're going to be able to hold your weapon. There's going to be little, right now when we enhance something, there's a square around the card, and that shows you it's enhanced. In version 2, you're going to see a 3D avatar holding a gun, holding a bow, holding a sword, and there's going to be like a little flame or a little glow around it, and that's going to be your upgrade. So it's going to be a lot more interactive. So stands to reason if we have a fishing game, then you may want your character to be holding a fishing rod or a fishing hat with some lures on it so you can decorate your character inside and outside the game. So how are we going to get those things? And this is why number 5 is now the expectation of our games. So number 5 is we are going to, not this version of the fishing game, but next year's version, we're going to have a gaming level up system inside the game. So for example, if you play for free, you can log in every day. You can throw the rod, cast it, and you get credit for one cast. Once you cast, say, 25 times, could take you 25 days if you're free to play, you don't buy any tokens, but you can still earn those in the box event, so there's different ways. So once you throw 25 times, now you become a level 1 fisherman on the fishing game, and you unlock a different boat. So maybe you start in a canoe, and now you've got a fishing boat. And then you cast 50 times, and now you become level 2 fisherman, and now you get a new lake that you can fish in. You cast 100 times, and now you get a brand new fishing rod. 200 times, you can do some night fishing. So you guys see where I'm going with that? So now the game itself will allow you to have a leaderboard, to have inventory items, to use the tokens, but also level up your character's fishing ability by playing the fishing game. So then we roll out the trivia game, same thing, same premise. We roll out the farm game, same premise. We roll out the battle pet, same premise. So you'll be able to play one time per day for free, so you can go in every day and play and level up. Or if you buy kills tokens and say, hey, I want to cast 10 times, you buy those tokens, now you're going to be able to level up your ability to unlock some cosmetic things to make the game more personable, or some vanity items, or some pets, or some things that become part of your account, part of your character. You may like, some fancy clothes. You might like, custom items. So we're going to be able to customize the game. So in addition to throwing the fishing rod out there and catching items that you can use, those cast in and of itself are going to level you up. So you're going to kind of get a dual benefit from it. So that is, that's the direction of where we're going with the portal. And this is why I said our games are not app games that you just play. They are games that relate to Play Dead Live. So Play Dead Live to me always comes first. So I'm not out there developing games to put on the App Store, so you got to watch the ads. Watch my YouTube ads. But other than the YouTube ads, I'm not creating app games that, okay, watch this for 10 seconds and you get a free cast. Okay, watch this for 30 seconds and you get this. Watch this and you get free things. We're developing games that you can play right on our portal that will tie into the Play Dead Live experience. So that is your official sneak peek. Are you guys excited about what we got lined up? So don't expect another portal update, or at least a major one, for a couple of weeks. We got Auction House. We got fishing game in the works. We got bags being developed. A whole lot of cosmetic changes coming. We got currency that are being uploaded. So we built this thing from the ground level. This is your game. This is something that you guys have been a part of from day one. And all of your experience, all of your ideas, you're going to see those sort of take shape and right before your very eyes in the portal. So it is 11 o'clock, everybody. I have been talking for 2 hours, training, developing, explaining, all of those things. You guys go get with the leaders or go get with the players, set up your strategy for Saturday night, and start to talk in your factions and get ready. We've got a really, really good showdown for you guys. You guys can see it. We've got Sly at Mirror on Monday night, and we got Vox and Ark live for you guys next Wednesday night. So thanks, everybody, for all you do, and I will see all of y'all. If you guys had a great time, give me one last 999. Show a little love, show a little support, and I will talk to all of you guys Friday for Slayer's Lair. I'm not showing you guys a sneak peek. Slayer's Lair is so good. You do not get a sneak peek. I'm done. I was going to show you a little something, but I'm going to make you wait. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you Friday night.